When I was actually in my early teens, my goal was to actually get to $100,000 by the time I turned 25. I did it by age 22, but that's what this video is actually about. And I actually realized the price I paid to get to that goal was not worth it. And by the end of this video, you'll know exactly what the price actually was and why it wasn't worth it for me. Now, I want you guys to notice something. In the title of this video, I'm saying how to be worth $1 million in your 20s. Early on, I didn't know the difference between how to make $1 million, how to have $1 million, and how to actually be worth $1 million. These three things, they're very different. Someone can make $1 million and have $1 in their pocket today or be in debt like Mike Tyson did, okay? Or for example, someone can say, I have $1 million in the bank right now, and they can literally have like $20 million worth of debt somewhere else, okay? So that's not what I'm trying to teach you either. But if you're actually worth $1 million, well, that's actually massive because that's actually your net worth. Once you minus what you have from what you owe, if you have $1 million net worth, that's pretty cool. And it's not just about having a certain amount of money in the bank. No, it's the money you have in the bank, liquid, the money you actually have in your investment account, and the money you have, for example, even in your property, that equity. All those things actually count to get you the goal to $1 million in your 20s. Is it possible? The answer is yes. Is the price worth it? You'll know by the end of this video. Now, as always, guys, like this video. On top of that, also subscribe, hit the bell so you get notified. And on top of that, my name is Tommy Bryson, if you didn't know that already. Now, the first thing I want to mention, guys, is a fun hack that I actually learned a long time ago. It's the way to break down massive goals into little chunks. So this way, they're a lot more attainable and less elusive, like saying, I want to get to $1 million. That's cool, but how do you get there? How do you break it down? You don't know. So here are three main ways how you can actually do this. First, the basic way, which I don't recommend, obviously, is if you want to get to $1 million via just saving, then in reality, if you're gonna get there like in 10 years, let's say you're 20, from 20 to 30, that's 10 years to actually do it in your 20s overall. Well, to get to $1 million, you need to save $100,000 for about 10 years, okay? There's nothing going on there. That's not that good whatsoever. But let's say you actually are able to make 10% on your money for those 10 years. So you're actually grabbing that money and investing it, and you make 10%. Well, how much do you need to invest in those 10 years? The answer is around $62,736 every single year for those 10 years is going to get you to $1 million. That's around like what? Like $38,000 less than just saving? That's awesome, right? But let's say you're actually able to make 25% of your money. Well, you only need to actually invest every single year around $30,072. Now, obviously, the question is, we know how to save. That's just grabbing your earned income and putting it away, whether it's in your couch or under your mattress. We know how to invest. You could always just grab that money, put it in the S&P 500 and leave it there. And that grows at around 10% or so. That's in the stock market. I use VOO. I invest with Vanguard. It's my only investment in the stock market, okay? And that's pretty cool, right? You grab that money, put it in there, and it grows and it grows and it grows and it grows. But how can you make 25% of your money? It usually comes from business. And by the end of this video, I'll give you a few business ideas you could actually start to actually earn some money like that, okay? And by the way, it's not that complicated. Business is the only place where you can actually buy a product for like $10 and resell it for like $100, okay? And make like 10x on your money, and you can do that every single day potentially. People do this all the time. It's possible. So by the end, you'll know exactly how to do that also. But here's a confession I have to make to you guys, okay? The truth is, guys, in my 20s, and by the way, I am still in my 20s. I'm on the other side of the half now, which is pretty cool. I'm getting older. But for the most part, truth is, in my 20s, I'm actually not going to achieve this goal myself. And remember I told you, you'll either make peace with this by the end of this video, or you'll actually know how to actually get there and be willing to pay the price. And the honest truth is, I'm not willing to pay the price. And here's why I'm not even mad about it, okay? So for the most part, the average millionaire is around 57 years old. That's when people actually become a millionaire. So if you do it in your 20s, you're 30 years earlier. If you do it in your 30s, you're like 20 years early. That's still pretty awesome. Now, math shows I'm actually gonna get there at around like 31, but I say like around 33 years old. And to me, that's still more than fair. Now, why am I not willing to pay the price? Because the price is I have to invest $70,000 extra dollars every single year to actually get to $1 million before I actually turn 30. That means a lot of work, a lot of effort, a lot of time, and I just don't see the benefit of that because the million is pretty cool. It's a fancy number per se, but if I have the benefits of what I want for my money, then to do all that extra work doesn't really benefit me. Now, remember when I told you guys I paid a price to get to my first 100K at the age of 22? The price was this. I was in college. I did my college early. I did 3 jobs while I was in college. I started a business and I basically just worked every single day. That was my life. And I didn't get to see my dad. And when I actually saw my dad, he passed away. And when I look back, I was like, would I had rather like get to my goal maybe like 2 years later and be able to go back and visit my dad and so on? Or would I rather just get there anyways? And then was that worth the price? The answer is, of course, it was not worth the price, okay? I can't get that time back, but I could always just make more money. And that kind of sounds crazy because you might think like, no, I want to make this money, whatever. But when you put things into perspective, I'd rather get there on time, little by little, step by step, than get there early per se, and then lose out on a lot of things, okay? Because it's a lot. It costs a lot to get to a goal where most people are not going to get there. Now, the good news for me is though, that by the time I turn 30 years old, just from passive income, well, 2 things are gonna be happening, okay? First, I'm gonna have a paid off home. That's like a side. Now that means that I get to do that like 30 years early, which is actually pretty cool to have a paid off home. And I'm also gonna have like, for example, like $30,000 on average coming in passively every single year without me having to work, God willing, if he wants to allow it, okay? That's the idea. So yeah, I won't have $1 million, but I have 30K in passive income, I have a paid off home, and I get to enjoy my life with my family, my friends, and be able to just do things I actually enjoy. Now, that's all because I paid a price for the first half of my 20s, okay? And that's why I'm able to say that today. But, if I could get there maybe 5 years later by not paying that price and just have more enjoyment out of life, I would have done that too, okay? The point is to be responsible, to understand the averages, and to know that if you get there early, and that's pretty cool. And by the way, social media isn't real life. Like this whole thing right here isn't real life, okay? People being on social media, being 22, 21, making $1 million from one day of doing something, it's not real life. When I talk about average, I mean the average person that has a 9-to-5 job. I don't mean the social media guy making a video about money. I don't mean the person selling things online. You might get there possibly doing that stuff, but if you're just an average person trying to get to your goal, I don't recommend you just eat what's that old saying I used to say like oodles and noodles and just be at your house all day, work very hard, not have any relationships, romantic or platonic relationship. That's just ridiculous, okay? It's just not worth it. Money is not gonna run out, bro. It's gonna be there, okay? For the most part. Now, here's the plan though, okay? If you do want to continue to actually get to $1 million, and by the way, I think it's actually a good goal for the average person to actually get to, but it's all about the timeline and the price you're actually willing to pay to actually get there. So to be able to do this goal, I recommend 3 things. First, cut the fat. If you have a budget, if you don't have a budget, then you're in trouble. I have a lot of videos on budgets. Watch those. Look up on YouTube, Tommy Bryson budget. You'll find one of those videos, okay? But for the most part, what are your necessities and what is the fat? The things you don't need. Cut all the fat you don't need and just keep the things you actually love and you actually enjoy for the most part and have that in there. Enjoy it too, okay? Because that's a part of the game. Number 2 is deleverage yourself. If you have a lot of debt, like credit card debt, student loan debt, personal loan debt, all this stuff, deleverage. So pay those things off first, and that way you can focus on building wealth. And number 3 is build a foundation and save for a rainy day. Have at least 3 to 6 months before you continue with this plan. This way, you're able to build wealth knowing, hey, I don't have that much risk as far as with debt. I know how much I'm spending. And on top of that, I have money on the side in case I do something funny or something happens, I'm able to take care of myself or my family also. Now, Here's the plan and here's the idea. You have 24 hours in a day. If you sleep 8, you work 8, like normal job, and you waste 8 like on and you waste like 2 like on transportation and so on, you still have about 6 hours left. With those 6 hours, if you want to split that between half for you or half for your family, the other half or the other 4 hours or 5, however you want to split it, okay, you can grab those extra hours and put it towards building a business. It's just like the best way to actually do it, to make that much money, because returns as far as like in the stock market, unless you're picking stocks, you're not going to be making 20 to 25% unless you're Warren Buffett, okay? So for the most part, the best way to do it is going to be via businesses, okay? That's the best way. So for me, it worked via YouTube and doing, for example, reselling, okay? So before I was actually doing YouTube, I was doing a lot of reselling, and I even had, for example, like a little accounting business in a way. And that actually generated for me a lot of money too. And it wasn't like 10% or 12%, it was like 50%, because you're actually able to, if I buy something for $10, resell it for 50, that's a pretty good return on my money, okay? If I buy a phone for like 200, resell it for 300, that's a good return on my money. So it's a lot of just reselling, or trying to provide services that add more money to your pocket. Number 2 is my friend. She did it via retail arbitrage by buying things at Walmart and Ross and those stores and then reselling it on eBay. I mean, not on eBay, on what is it called? On Amazon. I forgot Amazon's name. On reselling on Amazon. And she did it like that, and she actually built wealth doing that way. My uncle did it by, for example, building a grocery store business. My recommendation is you can see my idea, my friend's idea, my uncle's idea, whatever you want to do, okay? But for the most part, I would look for an idea that I like, I enjoy, and I'm good at, and that makes me money. So do I like it? Am I good at it? And does it make me money? And then work on it via that, okay? Because if you're working a normal job and then you're having to spend the hours that you're supposed to be resting or watching TV, doing something you absolutely hate and you're not good at, you're gonna be miserable. So the best thing you can do is, yeah, it's a good goal to actually get there. You can break in the math to get there, for example, in those 10 years, good stuff. But for the most part, I would not be chasing the million. I would be chasing passive income to cover my expenses. So for me, I accomplished that. I'm actually able to, if I wanted today, not work and have my passive income take care of all of my expenses. And I don't have $1 million. And I don't need $1 million. But to get to $1 million is a pretty cool goal, a goal per se, but you don't really need $1 million. Now I told you guys, okay, by the end of this video, you'll either be like me, not have the million, but be on track to get there, but just not in your 20s. Or you'll have a plan and a way to actually get to the million and be willing to pay the price, which in my opinion, a lot of the times it's not worth it, okay? But thanks for watching, guys. Like this video, and top out also subscribe, hit the bell so you're notified, and comment down below 1 million so I know you made it all the way to the end of the video. And for all my lazy people out there, just comment down below 1M. That way I know it's 1 million. I know that you made it all the way to the end of the video. On top of up here is another video. Over here is my face. Click subscribe, and as always, long-term team officially out.